When you disappear, the very first thing that hits her is a wave of shock she didn't see coming. It's not dramatic or loud. It's quiet, almost invisible, but it shakes her from the inside. She's used to you being there, not necessarily because she always acknowledged it, but because your presence became part of the rhythm of her life. Your messages, your consistency, your energy, your attention, they became something she expected without realizing it. And when that suddenly stops, her mind reacts instantly. She starts asking herself questions she never asked when you were showing up for her. It's the shift she wasn't prepared for, the silence she didn't expect, and that moment of stillness forces her to think in ways she avoided when she knew you'd always be there. The first thought that flashes through her mind is simple. Asterisk, why did he stop? Asterisk, she goes through the last conversation, replaying every word, every tone, every pause. She scans her memory for a mistake, a sign she didn't catch, a shift in your energy she might have ignored. This is the first real impact of your disappearance. Before, she never had to question whether you'd call again. She assumed it, but now that it's not happening, now that the routine breaks, confusion becomes her first emotional response. She might not tell anyone, and she definitely won't tell you, but inside, she's searching for answers. And the important part is this, she's searching for answers about asterisk you asterisk. You are now occupying mental space without saying a single word. As the shock settles, something deeper starts happening. The absence feels uncomfortable, not because she lost someone she needed, but because she lost someone whose presence she counted on. It's the sudden contrast between what was and what is. You were there, and now you're not. That contrast triggers a natural fear of loss, and most people underestimate how powerful that fear becomes when silence is involved. Silence makes the mind fill in the blanks, and the mind usually fills them with questions and possibilities that create emotional tension. She wonders what you're thinking, where your focus is now, whether you've moved on, and most importantly, whether she pushed you away without realizing it. During this phase, her ego also gets hit, not in a petty way, but in a human way. She wonders if she misread your investment, if maybe you weren't as into her as she thought. She wonders why you're able to step back so cleanly when she assumed you were the one who'd always be there. That small crack in certainty is what Wayne talks about, when your actions create space for her to feel the consequences of her choices. Not as punishment, but as a natural reaction to imbalance. When you disappear, you stop overinvesting. You allow her to feel what it's like when the attention she took for granted no longer shows up automatically. This shock phase is powerful because it creates a new dynamic. She begins to realize that your presence wasn't guaranteed. She begins to understand that your time, energy, and attention were gifts, not obligations. And once she feels that, once she notices the difference, her mind can't escape the realization that maybe she didn't show up for you the way you showed up for her. This is exactly where the shift starts. Your silence becomes the mirror she didn't know she needed. Your absence becomes the wake-up call she wasn't expecting. And even though she may not reach out immediately, the truth is simple. The moment you disappear, her mind starts working overtime trying to understand why. That's when she realizes something important. Your presence mattered far more than she ever admitted when you were still there. As the days pass and your silence continues, something subtle but powerful begins to shift inside her. At first, she might have brushed it off, telling herself that you're probably busy or that you'll eventually message like you always do. But with each passing hour, the emotional space you once filled becomes more noticeable, and the absence isn't just silence, it becomes pressure. This is where the emotional pullback truly begins. She starts to feel a kind of emptiness, not dramatic or overwhelming, but steady and undeniable. It's the loss of your presence that hits her before anything else. You didn't just stop calling, you removed a source of emotional certainty she quietly relied on. This pullback feels like losing a background comfort she didn't realize was holding her steady. Your messages brought reassurance. Your consistency brought stability, your energy brought direction, and as those things fade from her daily life, she begins to notice the difference. She notices that no one else gives her that same feeling. She notices that the attention she gets from others doesn't carry the same weight. And most importantly, she notices that her mood changes in subtle ways. Moments of boredom hit harder, moments of stress feel slightly heavier, and moments of quiet become moments where your voice echoes in her mind. This is the stage where your absence starts creating emotional contrast. You used to be the one who brought warmth, confidence, and grounded masculine presence. Without that, the days feel a little colder. What really intensifies this stage is that she didn't expect to feel it. She thought she had you figured out, that you were the consistent one, the reliable one, the man who wouldn't pull back even if she did. So when you stop reaching out, it disrupts her internal narrative. She can't label you as needy. She can't assume you'll be there no matter what. She can't take your energy for granted anymore. And because she didn't prepare for this shift, her emotional system reacts instinctively. She begins comparing how she felt when you were present versus how she feels now. This involuntary comparison is exactly what creates the emotional pullback. She might try to distract herself, talking to friends, scrolling through social media, or keeping herself busy. But none of that fully works, because emotional connections don't disappear instantly, they linger. She starts remembering specific things you said, the tone of your voice, the way you responded to her, the effort you used to make. These memories gain power not because they suddenly became more meaningful, but because they now exist in the middle of a void. Memories thrive in silence, and your silence amplifies the emotional value of moments she barely acknowledged before. Another strong element of this phase is the rise of uncertainty. When you were consistently in her life, she always knew she had access to you. You were predictable in a good way. She felt safe knowing that if she reached out, you'd respond. If she pulled away, you'd still be there. But that safety is now gone, and uncertainty triggers emotional tension. She starts wondering, did he lose interest? Did I push too far? Is he talking to someone else? Is he done with me? These thoughts create a kind of emotional discomfort that no woman likes sitting with. She may not show it publicly. She may even act indifferent or overly busy. But internally, she feels the shift more than she admits. This emotional pullback is also where attraction silently rebuilds, because attraction grows in space, not in pursuit. When you were always available, she never had the chance to feel the risk of losing you. Now she does. When you were always reaching out, she never wondered where your attention was. Now she's curious. When you were predictable, she didn't have to think about reciprocating. Now her emotions start moving toward you instead of away from you. She begins to feel the emotional loss of your masculine presence, a presence she may have taken lightly, but one that had a bigger impact on her than she realized. And this is the moment where the emotional pullback reaches its peak, when she realizes that the silence you created isn't just a lack of messages, it's a lack of connection. And connection is what her heart reacts to the most. Day by day, this emotional void becomes harder to ignore. She starts to feel what it's like when you're not there to reach out, to check in, to offer steady masculine energy. And whether she admits it or not, the emptiness she feels is the clearest sign that your absence is working. It's not manipulation, it's natural attraction dynamics. When you pull away, She finally feels what it's like without you. And that feeling alone becomes the force that begins drawing her back toward you. As more days pass without hearing from you, her mind shifts into a deeper, more reflective state. The initial shock has faded, the emotional pullback has already started to sting, and now she enters a stage she cannot avoid, self-reflection. This is where she begins looking inward, not because she wants to, but because your silence forces her to. She starts asking herself questions she never asked when you were present and consistent. Your disappearance becomes a mirror, and now she has to see her own behavior clearly rather than just focusing on yours. This is one of the most powerful dynamics Corey Wayne talks about. When your silence gives her the opportunity to evaluate her own actions with honesty instead of distraction. She begins replaying everything past conversations, small arguments, the times she pulled away or acted cold, the moments she didn't respond, or the times she treated your consistency as routine. Rather than effort, these memories don't come up randomly. They surface because your absence creates mental space for them to rise. She no longer has new interactions with you to distract her. There are no new messages, no new jokes, no reassurance. Instead, she has nothing but the past and her own thoughts, and that combination naturally brings her into reflection. During this stage, she also starts noticing the imbalance that existed without fully realizing it before. She begins to see that you may have invested more, cared more, or showed up more consistently than she did. In the moment, she may not have understood the value of that. But now, with contrast, she begins to understand why losing your presence feels uncomfortable. She starts thinking about how she responded when you reached out. Was she appreciative or dismissive? Warm or distant? Engaged or distracted? These questions slowly chip away at her certainty, replacing it with something she wasn't expecting: regret. Regret is powerful because it forces change, even if someone doesn't want to admit it. She might not tell her friends the full story. She might even pretend she's fine. But internally, she knows something shifted. She recognizes that she had a man showing up for her, and instead of matching the energy, she became complacent. That realization alone is enough to change how she feels about you. It builds emotional weight, and emotional weight is what makes her rethink her decisions and behavior. Another thing that happens in this reflection stage is the awakening of accountability. When you were always present, she could justify her actions by saying you weren't going anywhere. But now she has to consider whether her behavior contributed to your withdrawal. She wonders if she pushed too far, pulled back too much, or took your effort too lightly. This is exactly the mental shift Corey Wayne emphasizes the moment she begins to take responsibility for her part in the dynamic. Not because you told her to, not because you argued, but because your silence gave her the space to realize it on her own. As more time passes, she also begins comparing the version of you she remembers with other men in her life. And that comparison almost always benefits you. Your presence, your attention, your energy, your straightforward communication, all of these things feel different when they are gone. She may talk to others, she may get messages from other people, but none of it replaces the feeling she got from you. This is where clarity begins to form. She understands that you are not ordinary. You brought something she isn't finding anywhere else. Reflection also makes her question her own value in your eyes. She starts wondering whether she did enough to make you feel wanted, appreciated, respected. This uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it's also necessary. It's what rebuilds attraction from her end. The moment she stops assuming you need her is the moment she starts realizing she wants you. And the moment she questions whether you are still interested is the moment her interest increases. In this stage, she also starts imagining what she would do differently if she got another chance. She imagines responding quicker, being warmer, being more feminine, being more appreciative. She imagines what she would say if you suddenly texted. This mental rehearsal is important. It shows that her emotional investment is rising. She is no longer thinking about how you made her feel. She is thinking about how she should make you feel. That alone is a major shift in the dynamic. By the time she reaches the end of this reflection stage, she realizes that the silence isn't random, it's meaningful. It's the result of her actions, her inconsistency, her lack of reciprocation. And because the mind naturally gravitates toward what is lost, not what is guaranteed, she begins feeling a stronger pull toward you than she ever did when you were constantly available. This is where the longing forms not out of fear, but out of genuine emotional clarity. Your silence has now done what your words never could. It made her truly reflect, truly understand, and truly value what she had when she had you. As more days pass, the reflection inside her starts turning into something much deeper, a realization she cannot escape. She begins to understand the true value of what she lost when you pulled back. This isn't instant and it isn't loud. It grows slowly, day by day, until it becomes impossible for her to ignore. The silence that once felt confusing now begins to feel meaningful. It forces her to see things clearly, the way you made her feel safe, the way you brought direction and calmness, the way your presence added something to her life that she didn't fully appreciate at the time. This is where the emotional shift completes itself. She moves from confusion to longing, from questioning your absence to recognizing your worth, and from taking you for granted to understanding what it truly means to miss someone. At this stage, something important happens in her mind. She becomes aware that your value wasn't just emotional support, it was emotional gravity. You grounded her, your masculine presence brought certainty, and certainty is rare. She realizes that you weren't just another man texting her, you were the one she could rely on. And the more she compares her life with you to her life without you, the more she feels the weight of what she lost. This is why the desire to reconnect begins to form. Not because she's lonely, not because she's bored, but because your absence helped her see how much you contributed to her emotional world. She also starts thinking about the future in a different way. When you were there consistently, she had the luxury of questioning you, doubting you, testing you, or pulling back. Now she questions herself. She wonders what she truly wants, and the truth becomes unavoidable. She wants the stability, the warmth, and the masculinity you brought. She realizes that the guys who tried to get her attention now feel flat compared to you. Their words don't carry weight. Their attention doesn't feel earned. Their presence doesn't create the same emotional impact. And it's in this contrast that she understands something she couldn't have seen before. You were different. This realization triggers another internal shift. She starts imagining what it would feel like if you never returned. This thought hits her harder than she expected. She feels the fear of losing access to someone who made her feel seen and understood. She feels the discomfort of knowing she may have pushed a good man away. She feels the vulnerability of wanting someone who may no longer want her. All of these emotions build pressure, and that pressure creates desire. That desire creates motivation. She begins thinking about reaching out, not from a place of control, but from a place of sincerity. She might rehearse what she wants to say. She imagines sending a simple "hey," a question, a memory, or something to test the waters. She might wonder how you'll respond or whether you'll respond at all. That uncertainty makes her feel even more drawn to you because now the power dynamic is balanced. Her heart is involved. She is no longer in a position where she feels certain you will chase her. Now she feels the need to step forward. This is the point Corey Wayne often talks about. The moment when a woman begins to pursue because she feels it emotionally, not because she's pressured or manipulated. She may try to distract herself before reaching out. She may wait a few more days, hoping you'll text first. But deep down, she knows that your silence was not a game. It was a shift. It was you choosing yourself. It was you honoring your worth, and that alone increases her respect for you. Women don't respect men who chase endlessly. They respect men who can walk away when they are not valued. By disappearing, you showed strength, and that strength is what reignites attraction at a deeper level. Eventually, the realization grows stronger than her pride. She can only replay the memories so many times, only compare you to others so many times, only imagine the what-ifs so many times before something inside her breaks through the hesitation. She reaches the point where staying silent feels worse than risking vulnerability. And that's when she decides to reach out. It might be subtle, it might be simple, but it will be genuine because now she understands what she couldn't see before. Your presence was rare, your attention was valuable, and losing access to a man like you is not something she wants to accept. By the time she reaches this stage, the dynamic has fully shifted. Your disappearance didn't push her away. It guided her back, not through pressure, but through realization, not through force, but through silence. And when she finally reaches out, it won't be because she wants attention, it will be because she wants you asterisk.